between believing something and knowing something.
Right.
Most of our belief systems were what we believe, but we don't know. Staying in that space means that I know and I have adopted that this is the truth. And until we really do that, I think that we'll go back to our nature. We'll go back to what's familiar. So, like you mentioned, you do have to give yourself grace because you've known that pattern longer than you've known
The new
the
pattern.
spirit world, the news. So it definitely takes grace for yourself because the familiar is sitting right next to you, always waiting to take you back. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
girl,
Man, yes, tapping you on your
Mm-hmm.
hey.
Hey,
shoulder,
come
like,
Uh-huh,
on back. Come
uh-huh,
on back home.
yeah,
uh-huh, mhm,
yeah.
mhm. And
You remember back then?
yes.
No, I don't. I forgot.
Yes. So remodeling our mind, because it's our subconscious that's holding on to all of that, that is a process. It didn't get there overnight. It doesn't correct itself overnight. So I had to do the work. And it was some of the work was simple things like playing things that unblock your subconscious when I go to bed at night. Well, maybe I used to have the housewives on and fall asleep watching whatever, just taking steps that I knew that I should have been doing, but was too lazy to do because I'm almost too afraid to change. Because when you change, you know that things
Yep.
around you are going to
Change.
change as
Yep.
well. And that can be scary.
Yep.
And so you never know what relationship is going to be impacted, what place, people, thing, environment. So it does take courage for any one of us that have been on the path to say there's a better existence that I want to experience, and it may come with losing things that I hold dear in order to gain myself.
Yeah, for
Mm.
sure. At times, I know when I started my spiritual journey, when I didn't even know that I was starting it, it just felt like I was, searching, to reconnect with myself, but I was, like losing stuff, losing people, losing familiarity, just, like you said, that kind of, things changing. And at first it was very, very intimidating and scary, and then I was just kind of like, you good. Go it alone. If they coming, they coming. If you
That's
adopted this
true.
new
Yeah.
mindset, you gotta kind of live it. And I remember, talking to Nini in was it like October, November, and the message at that time was like, everybody can't go. It was
That's
Yeah.
hard. It's so
yeah,
hard.
yeah. I was like, everybody can't go. Like that just kept coming to me, and I was just like, dang, for real. Like, but I want to pull that with me, and I want to take that bad habit with me. I can do it a little bit. Yeah. So I definitely, your point resonated with me as far as yeah, you got to change and you got to consciously make those steps, and then like you said, just put in the work.
Yeah. And a
Because
lot of
stuff's
people,
gonna pop up.
yeah, and
Stuff's
a
gonna
lot,
pop up to show you where you are, right?
Man,
for
don't it
sure.
though? Them
For sure.
exams, them little pop quizzes.
And then like a lot of people, they don't really understand that whole putting in the work, that phase, because that phase is rough, it's painful,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
like nitty gritty, like, and they just see the end result and then they want to get there, but they don't really understand like the relationship that you say you lost and the things, and everything around you fucking blowing up because you're
Yep.
changing and you're
Yeah.
evolving,
Yeah.
and not everybody is going to go to that next level. And so
Yeah.
I think, just that putting in the work thing that people don't really see, because it's the ugly part that we don't really want to talk about, or that like just people just don't really see. And yeah, that's a crucial part of it. And then one more thing that I wanted to touch on before we jump into the topic is that you said that you were the cause of like how your life was, and that I know like a lot of people around me, and even me, sometimes when I would blame society and blame my environment for how shit turned out, as opposed to like taking responsibility. And then once you get that awareness, like, okay, this is not resonating with me anymore, this is not how I want my life to be, and then just kind of like making that pivot to like change your life. Like some people stay in that victim mentality, that this is just how life is, and it's the government and everybody else around me on why my life is so shitty, as opposed to like doing the steps to change it and making your life better. So I do definitely like kind of give you kudos for that to say,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Have you noticed, in this on this spiritual path, there's so many people who dabble in it, so to speak, but you can kind of notice that even where you think that you all are on common ground spiritually, you'll start to see things or hear things that don't resonate because it'll come with a blame for another person. And it comes from that place of victimization, like you mentioned before. And it's so interesting because I remember when I first saw that spiritually with someone that I thought was really, really deep spiritual person. Not saying that they weren't, but I saw just not that ability to take ownership and really that'll kind of tell you where you are too. Because if you see everyone else as the problem, then you have to go back to the law. And of course, there's a lot of universal laws. I'm real big on the 7 that come from the Hermetic principles. That's a big part to me because the 7 kind of covers everything. But people get kind of locked into the benefit of the law of attraction, which is also the law of vibration. But sometimes they don't realize that, no, we vibe in everything, not just the things that we wish for, desire. It's all of it. So the personal accountability comes from understanding the law. Because there's no way that I can blame. There's a law of correspondence. There's no way as within, so without. Yep. That means it's me. It's not that I'm blaming everything around me. It just comes back to me. So that part I have to mention, the laws, transformational for me.
Yeah.
Transformational.
Sure. Now, what are these laws you said, the 7?
So sometimes people call them the 7 natural laws because a lot of people will call them the 12 universal laws. But if you go
heard of that one,
Dr. Proctor talked about it.
Yeah.
You said you guys talked about it before?
No, Dr. Proctor, the guy that we watch on YouTube, he talks about it.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
Ben Proctor?
Yeah. When you go all the way back to the beginning, there is 7 natural laws. That is a Hermetic principle. It's kind of going back to the spirituality that they had in Egypt, kind of our origin. And those 7 universal laws and natural laws pretty much help explain life. Once you get a deep understanding of it, it almost becomes your Bible and your guide because everything comes back to you. And here's the thing, whether you're aware of it or not, is active in your life right now, every day, 24 H's a day. Whether you are aware of it or not, all of us are living in accordance with the universal laws.
Yeah. And
we're receiving according to the law. And the difference is whether or not it's intentional or unintentional, but no matter what, it's just like gravity. You can say you don't believe in gravity, but you're subject to it. And that's what the universal laws are. We are all subject to them. And that's what helped me take ownership of my responsibility in anything that wasn't desired in my life. The law was a big part of it.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to have to go and do a recap on that. Go ahead, Jabir.
For sure. I mean, I actually got into The Secret like back, I want to say 10 years ago, like when it first came out. I read it. I watched the whole YouTube. Somebody bootlegged the movie and put it on YouTube. so I watched it, and I literally like I want to say probably for like 3 years after I watched it, I was all about, setting my intention and, where your intention goes, flows, your attention goes. So like I was really, really big on that. The thing is like I didn't have the accountability piece with intention that, we'll talk about more later. And then, the whole law of attraction, at first people were, not really, and I was one of those people, I wasn't really listening deeply to understand like that it all begins with me. So if I'm like up here like, oh my God, I don't want to have Rick, I don't want to have Rick, I don't want to have a Rick, reg, like I'm already putting that low vibrational energy out there that's gonna call that reg to me, because it's literally rooted in fear. So that's kind of how I was living my life, and I didn't really even understand at that time because I thought I was doing it right. That I was calling all of these like weird ass experiences to me, like I don't want a man that cheats, and then get one, and it's like, goddamn, you cheating. You ain't cheating, but you lying. I'm like, yeah, goddamn. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell? That's not what I was putting out at all. So here recently, when Nene turned me on to Dr. Proctor, and I actually, started actually like really, really examining, the fact, right, that it does all start with me, and like what I ignored, because I have a very, very strong intuition, like can call a whole lot of stuff. It's wild. But I ignored my intuition, and I could like pinpoint back to like yeah, you went through all of this just because you betrayed yourself. You know what I'm saying? And like sitting in that honesty, and for it to continually come up, because like I have, mental scars and I have physical scars that I can actually see. And I'm like, damn, all because
don't you hate that shit?
Your ass abandoned.
Like, man, yeah, I can remember like times too, experiences too, that I draw to myself because I wasn't listening to like my body and my higher self and my intuition. It's like, fuck, like I could have avoided all of this, but I wanted the dick, or I wanted, to stay with this person, and now I'm in like this relationship. Exactly. So yeah.
You know what? When you ladies say that, do you remember?
Hell nah. Get your ass. Get your ass, cause you ain't supposed to be here. You the devil.
That is funny.
How did you get here? Right. Go ahead, Robin.
That is so funny. I think I forgot what I was going to say because that was just too funny.
You say it's funny how you ladies say. I think you guys talk about relationships.
We're talking about how we draw like the bullshit to us because we ignore our intuition and our higher self.
Okay, so listen, I learned through the laws that not only do we do that, but when we are in that certain mindset where we're like, our intuition told us one thing, we're doing something else, our vibrational matches, meaning the people that are our mirrors and around us, they are going to co-sign on us doing bullshit. They're going to enforce it.
Yes.
So
she said
it's
they're going to sign on the dotted line. Right next to me, Robin.
That's what's so tripped out about it. It's like, that's also the law of correspondence, because you may be thinking, no, I need to leave him alone. And then you're going to talk to the closest, nearest girlfriend. You're not going to go within. You're going to talk to without. Go to the nearest girlfriend. Girl, that's a good man. It's okay if he do that a little bit. They all got something. They all have something. And then you just take on
let
that
good man away go. And he got the benefits, girl. Girl. He cheating and he lying and he punching your ass in the face. But girl, he paying the bills, girl. He doing something, girl. He comes home every night. Shit.
And it's crazy because now, like when people bring me that, I listen, but it's like it's so crazy because like one thing that I also kind of like came to this week is like I for real got some PTSD that I really need to talk to like somebody about. It's just like all kind of hit me. But one of my friends was telling me about, her marital problems and the things that she was going through, and everything that she was telling me, it was just like pattern recognition. And like, we talking in person, she breaks down and starts crying. So I'm like hugging her or whatever. And literally after that whole conversation, I felt like I didn't give any advice at all. I was just kind of like listening, right? I felt like I needed to throw up. I came home, I took a shower, and was like so tempted to sage my whole freaking body because I was like, yo, I don't want to, like you said, co-sign on that bullshit because it's some bullshit. But I know that she's not ready to hear me say, like, yo, like these are all patterns that, like, from my past, like that I recognize that they don't lead to good, And I'm not saying like everybody is the same person. But damn, when you'd have had it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, it's confirmation that this behavior is going to lead to XYZ. So, I I don't know.
That's kind of where some of those relationships end up falling away because, like you just said, you were sitting there in that energy with her, and it may have resonated at one time, like, yeah, girl, and where you would have given advice. And then with that higher mind, you can't really do that because sometimes people are not at that stage of being able to accept that they're the cause, number one. And then number two, if you are staying authentic